The first time Caroline Spencer saw him, she barely noticed. The janitor in the corner of the conference hall was mopping silently, his head bowed, his navy uniform blending into the walls like background noise. She was far too busy adjusting her designer jacket, checking her phone, and rehearsing the words she would say in front of a room full of executives. Caroline was a woman who lived on the fast lane of New York City. As the vice president of the Spencer Foundation, a non-profit founded by her late father, she was always in the spotlight on magazine covers, charity events, interviews, panels. Everything about her life was polished to perfection. Every strand of hair carefully styled, every smile rehearsed, every gesture calculated. The gala that was approaching in just a week was her crown jewel, an event she had worked on for months, an event meant to honor the generosity of the wealthy and powerful who supported her foundation. The last thing she wanted was for anyone to ruin its shine. So when she overheard that the janitor, this quiet man whose name she barely remembered, had asked about attending the gala, her heart burned with offense. It wasn't a place for people like him, not in her world. She called her assistant into her office, shutting the door with a determined slam. "Please tell me it's a joke," she said, her manicured fingers drumming against the glass desk. "That janitor, Daniela Brokenbar or whatever his name is, he asked for an invitation?" Her assistant shifted uncomfortably. "His name is David, Mom, David Morales. And yes, he mentioned it. He said he wanted to bring his daughter. She's a student, apparently. He thought it would inspire her." Caroline laughed bitterly, a sound like glass breaking. "Inspire her? This gala is not for children. It's not for janitors. It's for donors, CEOs, leaders, people who matter." The assistant hesitated, but Caroline's tone allowed no room for argument. Orders were sent quietly down the chain, and the matter was supposed to be settled. David Morales would not attend the gala. End of story. But the universe has a way of writing stories humans cannot control. That evening, as Caroline was leaving the foundation's office, she felt the city air sting her lungs. The night was brisk, with the kind of sharp September wind that whistled between skyscrapers and made coats flutter like flags. She was on her way to her car when her heel snagged on a crack in the pavement. She stumbled, cursing under her breath, when suddenly a set of headlights came barreling far too close. Her world blurred into blinding light. A screech of tires, a scream of her own. But in that split second, before the car could strike, a force pulled her backward with astonishing strength. She hit the ground, not with the impact of a car, but with the thud of concrete and the shelter of someone's arms. Breathing hard, her heart pounding in her ears, she looked up and saw him, the janitor. "David." "Careful," he said, his voice calm, steady, though his chest heaved from exertion. "You are Mr. "I know," she gasped, still trembling. "I are Mr. Brokenbar." But the words wouldn't form. Her throat was dry, her body shaking as if she had touched death and brushed past it. The car sped away, swallowed by the night. No one caught the license plate. No one else had seen. It was just her, and the man she had dismissed as invisible. David helped her to her feet. His hands were calloused, rough, yet steady. She pulled back quickly, trying to regain her composure, to mask the raw terror coursing through her. "Thank you," she said stiffly, avoiding his eyes. He only nodded, almost embarrassed. Then, without a word, he turned and walked away. Caroline stood there, frozen, the weight of what had just happened pressing down on her. She owed her life to the janitor she had tried to keep out of her world. But instead of gratitude, shame and pride fought inside her chest. She couldn't admit it to anyone. Couldn't confess that the man she had dismissed had saved her. It would tarnish her carefully curated image. And so she pretended nothing had happened. But life has a way of forcing truths into the light. The night of the gala arrived. The ballroom glittering with chandeliers and golden light. Guests in tuxedos and gowns sipped champagne. Laughter mingled with the notes of a string quartet, and Caroline walked through it all like a queen surveying her kingdom. Her speech was ready, her posture flawless, her smile radiant, until she saw him. David Morales, standing quietly near the back of the room, not in a janitor's uniform, but in a simple suit but pressed with care. Beside him stood a young woman, his daughter, with wide eyes that sparkled at the grandeur around her. Caroline's chest tightened. He wasn't supposed to be here. She had made sure of it. And yet, here he was, the one person who could unravel everything. Anger rose in her throat, a defense against the fear and guilt she refused to face. She marched toward him, heels striking the marble like a drumbeat of war. "What are you doing here?" she hissed, her voice low but sharp. David turned, his expression calm, respectful. "I was invited," he said simply. "By who?" she snapped. "My daughter's professor," he explained. "She's been interning with the foundation." He thought it would mean a lot for her to see this. He gestured toward the girl, who stood nervously by his side. Caroline's words caught in her throat. For a moment, she looked at the girl and saw not a threat, but a dreamer, wide-eyed and hopeful. Something inside her wavered, but pride lashed out instead. "This is not the place for you," she said coldly. "You don't belong here." David's gaze met hers, steady and unflinching. "Maybe not," he said quietly, "but neither did I belong in front of that car. Yet I was there." The words struck like a blade, piercing through the armor she had built around herself. Her chest tightened. He knew she hadn't told anyone. He wasn't boasting, wasn't demanding recognition, or just reminding her of a truth she wanted to bury. The gala continued around them, but for Caroline, time froze. She couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Shame, gratitude, and something deeper, as something she didn't want to name, flooded her. Her speech later that night began as rehearsed, but halfway through, her voice faltered. She looked out at the sea of faces, then at David, who stood silently at the back. His daughter's eyes shone with admiration, not just for the glittering gowns and chandeliers, but for the quiet strength of her father. And in that moment, Caroline's heart shifted. She put down the note cards, took a deep breath, and told the truth. She told the story of the car, of the night she almost died, of the man who had saved her life, though he had no reason to. She spoke of kindness, of humanity, of how the world measured worth in the wrong ways. When she named David Morales before the room of elites, a hush fell, and the applause, loud and long. David bowed his head slightly, embarrassed, but his daughter beamed with pride. For the first time in her carefully curated life, Caroline's tears were real, and for the first time, the world saw her not as a flawless figureheader but as a human being who had been saved by another's selflessness. That night did not end the way Caroline had planned. It ended better. It ended with two lives intertwined by fate, with one truth shining brighter than any chandelier, that kindness, no matter where it comes from, has the power to change everything.